Hey everyone, and welcome to Seeking Health's very first Q&A session, where we answer all of your product questions from seekinghealth.com. My name is Ceylon. I am the product education specialist here, and I'm here with Dr. Ben Lynch, expert in methylation, epigenetics, nutrigenomics, owner of seekinghealth.com, and father of 3 beautiful boys.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I would say probably the most important of that is the father of 3 amazing boys. So yeah, it's all fun though.
They are wonderful.
Yeah.
Today we are going to talk about prenatal care. And just to start us off, Dr. Ben, you're expert in methylation, epigenetics, nutrigenomics. Why are we starting with prenatal care today?
Great question. Yeah, and of all the products at Seeking Health, the tagline at Seeking Health is optimizing lives. That's what we do. We want to optimize lives. And the best way to do that, I believe, is to optimize the lives of unborn children. And what better way to start off with discussing optimal prenatal? Because optimal prenatal really allows us to optimize lives of not only the woman taking it, but also the future child and the future grandchildren. So we're talking 3 generations and 1 product line.
Right, it starts in the womb.
Starts in the womb.
So you have a protein powder, a capsule, and a chewable. Can you just tell us why you created this formula in the beginning?
Well, I created the formula in the beginning because I saw a video years ago called The Tale of 2 Mice about Nova. And in that video, they showed that these mice were genetically susceptible to cancer, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. And all they did, the only difference is they provided methylated nutrients to these mice, and their risk went down for these conditions because they got the nutrients they need. And when I saw that, I was like, that is really amazing. So why don't we do that? Why don't we make sure women get the nutrients they need? So it's been my life's mission ever since to really focus on what is it that we can do for women to get the best nutrition possible. And so that's where Optimal Prenatal came from. And my idea was, well, let's provide methylated nutrients, and let's also use chelated minerals, and let's make it easy to deliver forms so it's well tolerated, because let's face it, a lot of women have nausea in pregnancy and discomfort with pills and so on. So, I made Optimal Prenatal to really give the woman the best prenatal nutrition that she can take for her and herself and for her future grandchildren.
So what would you say is the major difference between the 3 delivery methods? So the powder, the capsules, and the chewable. How does someone know which one to choose or which one to take?
Personal preference. It's that simple. The powder is great if you want to have the most comprehensive formula, but also you want to have a smoothie. I love smoothies in the morning. In fact, I had it this morning. I had the Optimal Prenatal vanilla powder this morning for breakfast.
It's good.
Yeah, and I do it because that's what I like to do. But I don't like having powders every morning. So then I will take a capsule, and the Capsules product, and I will use the Optimal Multivitamin Plus, but that aside. And then the chewable is also great because some people don't like swallowing pills. But they don't want to take the powder, so the chewable is the next best option. And so that's why I created it. So what I also say is, if you don't really know which one you want, then you basically get all 3. We have quite a number of women who buy all 3, and some mornings I'll have the powder in a smoothie. Others will have the powder mixed with yogurt and chia seeds and granola. That's also really good. And then others will have the capsules some afternoons and chewables other days, or when they're traveling. They mix it up.
Right, and some women find that the capsules, the serving size is just too large to take. That's 8 capsules a day. So can you suggest to our viewers a good way to take them, maybe to break them up throughout the day, or do they really need the full 8 capsules?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this is something that I really wanted to be clear on the product label of Optimal Prenatal Capsules, but I can't. The rules prevent me from breaking up the serving size, because the product label, the ingredients panel, is basically the serving, and that requires 8 capsules. And so, and the reason why we have 8 capsules is because we have to get that whole ingredients panel of nutrients delivered for you and your unborn child and your developing placenta. There's a lot of nutritional demand that's going on. And there's a lot of women, and frankly, everyone wants convenience. Everyone wants convenience. But pregnancy, while it's not a time of convenience, pregnancy is something that you have to really take care of yourself, your placenta, and your developing child, and your unborn grandchildren as well.
Take ownership.
Yeah,
right.
And it requires a lot of nutrition. So if you think you can get all the nutrients you need in 1 to 2 capsules for a prenatal, it's not possible.
Right.
It's not possible. If it was, I would have done it.
But they could break them up throughout the day, like you said, 3 maybe in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening, or yeah.
Yeah, so what I recommend most commonly is 3 capsules of Optimal Prenatal with breakfast, 3 with lunch, and 2 around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whenever you start feeling that mid-afternoon lull. Instead of reaching for energy drinks or an energy bar or some garbage, have a couple capsules of Optimal Prenatal. And then make sure you don't take it within about 5 hours of bedtime, because
Energy.
Yeah. When I formulate something, I want it to work, and you will feel that energy most likely.
And you want to sleep.
And you gotta sleep. Sleep's super important for pregnancy. So within 5 hours of bedtime, stop. And ideally, you get 8 hours, 7-8 hours of deep sleep too. Not deep sleep, but solid sleep. And I know when you have other screaming children or other to take care of, it's hard, but do
I don't
your
have
best.
any yet, so.
Yeah. Do your best.
So we talked a little bit about methylated nutrients earlier. What would you say are some of the key ingredients in this formula that make it unique to any other prenatal on the market?
Wow.
Big question.
That's a big question. First of all of it. Nutrients never really act in solo form. You know, a lot of people say, oh, does it have methylfolate in it? Like, I need a prenatal that has methylfolate in it. But everything works in unison. You need to think multiple dimensions.
Comprehensive.
Yeah, it's comprehensive. So you need the whole package. I mean, you don't marry your husband because he has brown eyes. I mean, maybe you did, but you know, you wanted the whole package, right? So with Optimal Prenatal, you get the whole package. But that aside, you know, some of the key nutrients I have on there, they're all planned for a reason. This took me 3 years to formulate.
Wow. I
would formulate it, I'd set it aside. I'd formulate it, set it aside. And, you know, so I really took a long time with it. So everyone has a purpose. And I would say that the vitamin A's are unlike others. The folates are unlike others. And we'll get to the vitamin A in a second.
Right.
But the folates, most prenatals, as you know, you want to have folic acid, right? Wrong. No, you don't want folic acid. You want methylated folate. You want methylfolate. And the methylated folates. A lot of people think that methylfolate is the only folate they need because you've learned that folic acid is not good. That's awesome. But you also need folinic acid. So you need both. But then we've also got, what else? We've got minerals that are all chelated. So it makes it easier for you to absorb and less likely to cause stomach disruption and gut aches, because during pregnancy, that's easy to do, very easy to do.
Right.
And we've got ginger, also for nausea.
Yep.
Another nutrient that I added is called carnosine. And a lot of people don't know what carnosine is, but it's basically it's an antioxidant, and it's useful to support the protection against free radical damage.
Oxidative stress.
Yeah, oxidative stress. And so you want to protect the womb. And so I added carnosine in there to help support the balance of free radicals.
Right.
And then another one is choline.
Right. Right. I know in a previous video you said a big portion of women, or a big percentage of women, are actually really deficient in choline.
Yeah, remarkably so. And you know, a lot of people, a lot of research focuses on folate in pregnancy.
Right.
And the reality is you need to focus on methylation in pregnancy.
Right.
Folate in pregnancy, folic acid during pregnancy, I get it, I understand it, but it's wrong. It's old news. You need to be focused on methylation. And folate supports methylation. If there's not enough folate, choline is the backup.
Right.
And a lot of vegans and vegetarians are deficient in choline. In fact, I'm deficient in choline. I had no idea I was deficient in choline, and I eat a lot of protein. But choline is really high in liver, beets, Quinoa is pretty decent as well. Organ meats have a lot of choline. So,
Right.
and who eats organ meats, right? I mean,
Not a lot.
That doesn't sound very appetizing when you're pregnant, you know? But choline is really, really important. And there's a researcher, Dr. Zeisel, who has researched genetic polymorphisms around choline. And he identified in his region in South Carolina that 70% of women had this genetic polymorphism that reduced their ability to have adequate choline levels.
Oh, wow.
So that's huge. And then you add that they're not getting enough choline in their diet, that's even bigger. So he also found, or another researcher found, that only 10% of pregnant women meet the adequate levels of choline.
Wow, that's insane.
And he also researched that you need to have about, 800 milligrams of choline a day. So we provide a solid dose of 250 milligrams of choline in the optimal prenatal.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Right. This is a potent formula.
Yes.
That being said, one of our top questions at Seeking Health has to do with concerns about the high amount of vitamin A in this prenatal line. Can you explain why you emphasized this nutrient, or why is there so much vitamin A?
Yeah, well, first of all, it does look like a lot of vitamin A, but the reality is it's not. There's a lot of fear surrounding vitamin A, so a lot of supplement companies and manufacturers will not even put active retinol palmitate in their prenatals because there's so much fear. I rather want to educate people around the proper utilization of nutrients. And so I went for it and I put retinol palmitate in there. And yeah, it looks like a lot, but you know what? It isn't. We just meet the RDA level, the recommended dietary daily allowance of vitamin A, retinol palmitate, in the prenatal. And RDA is not that much. So
it doesn't even go past the upper limit like people think?
Not even close. The upper limit's 10,000 IUs. We have 2,500 IUs. So the upper limit, it's 10,000. The RDA is 2,500. We're at the RDA. So wouldn't you want a prenatal that at least meets the RDA level?
Right.
I would.
Right.
I mean, vitamin A of active retinol palmitate is absolutely essential for development of your baby. And I researched this hard. And when I was formulating this, I was like, this is going to require education. I shouldn't really put that much in there, but I should because it's so important. And so I went for it. So
right.
there's a really good resource I want to introduce you to as well. It's called the Linus Pauling Institute. So if you Google Linus Pauling and vitamin A, you can read there yourself about how they found that women who are deficient in vitamin A, the active form of retinol palmitate, actually have preterm labor. They're more at risk for preterm labor.
Wow. So there is an upper limit for the retinol part of vitamin A, that type.
Yes.
And there's not an upper limit for the beta carotene.
Not that I've seen, no.
Not established yet. And so 50% of, if I'm correct, optimal prenatal is retinol palmitate. So if there's no upper limit for the beta carotene, why did you not just include vitamin A as just beta carotene?
Great question. I thought about it, and that was when I was monkeying with it in the beginning. And I chose not to because later on, that's why it took me 3 years, because you find things. And
along the road.
Yeah, in the research, I found this gene called BCO1. And BCO1 takes your beta carotene and it transforms it into retinol palmitate, your active vitamin A. So if you have this genetic polymorphism of BCO1, then your ability to make active vitamin A goes way, way down. And it's very, very prevalent. I mean, I don't know the percentage of women who have this issue, but it's a lot. So I put beta carotene in there because it does other things, but I also put the active vitamin A to help bypass that problem of BCO1.
So it's kind of a misconception then that there's too much vitamin A in this formula.
It is a misconception.
I see.
100%. It's not being informed, and you've got to have your active vitamin A. Absolutely.
Right. And another nutrient that we get questions about is iron, or I should say lack of iron. So if you can explain to our viewers, why did you choose to not put iron in this formula?
There's no iron in it?
There's no iron in it. Did you
Oops.
forget?
Cut. No, there's no
you
iron.
Forgot.
Yeah. Oops. I needed 4 years. No, there's no iron in it because everybody wants to see everything in it, right? But
that's what they look for.
Yeah.
It's one of the nutrients, right?
Are you gonna have your steak mixed with your cereal in the morning, mixed with your ice cream? No. I mean, not only would that be a texture nightmare, but you would have a gut ache. So with iron, you have to have calcium. Calcium is extremely important during pregnancy. And that's another big difference, by the way, is the amount of calcium that we use. And calcium is important because of bone health. And iron will bind to calcium and calcium will bind to iron, and they antagonize each other. So if I put iron in there, then you're not getting really either one.
Prevents absorption.
Yeah, it prevents the absorption. It's called label dressing at that point, because you read the label of the prenatal and you're like, oh look, it's got everything I need, and it's got iron too, and calcium. But no, you can't mix iron and calcium. It's just not possible, so we don't do it.
Wow. So one of our, I want to go into this next question. It's our last question for the day.
Oh, and yeah, before you do that though, I want to say that iron is absolutely essential during pregnancy. It really is. So we've developed optimal iron plus cofactors. And optimal iron provides a very absorbable form of iron that you would take separately. Some women need iron more than others. Other women don't. I mean,
individually dose if you need to, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you have hemochromatosis or high iron levels, then you don't want to take extra iron, so don't. So work with your doctor and how much iron you need.
Right. So our last question, and I would say probably our biggest question, has to do with California Proposition 65, the warning label. If the viewers today, if you guys don't know what California Proposition 65 warning label is and you'd like to know more, you can go to seekinghealth.com and you can click on the Be Informed, Be Unafraid banner on the front page. But today, I'm kind of honing in on optimal prenatal, and some of our consumers are concerned because optimal prenatal, the protein powder and the capsules have the warning label, CalProp 65 warning label on it, and it's a prenatal, and so it says it may cause birth defects or reproductive harm. So can you explain or maybe provide some education and some reassurance to our viewers on this?
Yeah, and that's a very valid question. And and if you do read that label on the product, your heart is like, why would I take a prenatal that's going to increase reproductive harm? I mean, what's he thinking?
I don't want this.
Yeah, I don't want that. And Prop 65 is designed to protect the consumer against things like heavy metals. And I appreciate that. I really do. I think it's really needed. The problem is the levels that Prop 65 demands are so much lower than the FDA. I mean, it's a lot lower. And then they also don't require everything to be labeled as Prop 65. So
like other foods.
For example, so you go to the grocery store and you want to get collard greens. You love collard greens. You want to have a
salad.
You want to have a salad. You want to have an avocado. And there's no Prop 65 sticker on there, but there should be. What? Why should there be? Because there's more lead in a collard greens than optimal prenatal.
That there's no warning label, right?
Yeah, it's because they didn't label it. So, I could play that game. I could manipulate the system, and I could say, you know what? I'm going to reduce the potency of optimal prenatal and all of our products in order to get that Prop 65 label claim off of there.
Right.
But I don't want to do that because I'd rather educate people, like you said, be informed, be unafraid. I think that's really, really important. We did the same thing with vitamin A. I did the same thing with folic acid. I did the same thing with calcium and iron. Why didn't you put iron in there? So this is another one of those educational points that you need to understand that at Seeking Health, we work really, really hard to find the purest ingredients that we can. And I'm not just saying that because I really want to optimize your life and your unborn child's life. So I do work hard with our manufacturers to source the cleanest ingredients possible. Now, if you look at that Prop 65 informational area, and I encourage you to do so, the infographic that my team, Ceylon has really made a great job in producing, you'll see that the optimal prenatal levels of lead and what others?
Cadmium and arsenic.
Cadmium, arsenic are really low compared to the FDA, and they're pretty low for the Prop 65 too.
They're under Prop 65, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
A few of them are just over.
Yeah, and some are just over. But we felt, we should label it because, some batches might be more than others because there's natural variation with foods.
Right.
And with ingredients. And understand that, Prop 65 is possibly a bit too strong. We will always continue to source the cleanest ingredients possible. And, we will continue to formulate products that are potent and work well.
So thank you, Dr. Ben. This has been very informative for me and for you. So now take this time to add Optimal Prenatal to your shopping cart and optimize your pregnancy.